In this video lecture, we will discuss about fungi. In that, we will see the definition of fungi, distribution of fungi, general characteristic of fungi, mode of nutrition, reproduction, classification of fungi, beneficial effect, and we will see the harmful effect of fungi. So, now we will start with the first introduction. The study of fungi, that is known as mycology, and the scientists who study on mycology, they are known as mycologists. The study of fungi, that is known as mycology, and the scientist or the person who study on the fungi, or we can say that mycology, they are known as mycologist. If we look at the definition says that fungi can be defined as eukaryotic. Fungi are the eukaryotic organism. They are spore forming. Spore forming, which means that commonly they produce spore as a result of sexual and asexual reproduction. During the sexual and asexual reproduction, they produce spore, and through spores they go for sexual and asexual reproduction. So, fungi are the spore forming. Achlorophyllous, which means that they don't have chlorophyll to prepare their food, or we can say that they do not perform any kind of photosynthesis reaction. So, they are achlorophyllous, they don't have chlorophyll. That can reproduce sexually and asexually. Fungi reproduce by sexually or asexually. Fungi have usually filamentous branch structure. Filamentous, which means that they have a thread-like structure, and in that thread also they form the branched structure. So, it is somewhat like this. Suppose this is the filament, and in the filament that is the branch-like structure is also observed. So, they are usually filamentous branch structure, and the cell wall that is made up of chitin and cellulose or both. This is what the definition of fungi. Fungi can be defined as eukaryotic organism. They are spore forming organism, achlorophyllous organism that can reproduce by both sexually or asexually. That have the filamentous branch structure. Whenever they grow, they form the filamentous branch like structure, and their cell wall is made up of chitin and cellulose or both. Now we will discuss about their distribution, or we can say that their occurrence or their habitat. Fungi are mainly terrestrial organisms. They live in a soil. They found in a soil such as alkali soil, acidic soil, neutral soil. They found in different type of soil, as well as they are also found in the fresh water also. They are also found in the marine water also. So, this is what their habitat. Fungi, they live in a symbiotic association. Symbiotic association, which means that mutually beneficial interaction between two different organisms that is living in a close physical association. Here we can take the example of the mycorrhiza. First we will take the example of mycorrhiza. So what they do, mycorrhiza, it is a symbiotic association between the fungi plus plant root. So it is in mycorrhiza, it is in symbiotic association between the fungi and the plant root. And the second example of symbiotic association of fungi, that is the lichen. So in the lichen, fungi is symbiotic association with the algae. So symbiotic association of fungi, that is a mycorrhiza and the algae. Mycorrhiza, in that symbiotic association between the fungi and the plant root. So normally there is the fungi and the higher plant root. Fungi will take all the types of nutrient from the soil and it will provide to the plant root, and the plant root will provide the habitat, or we can say that it will provide the habitat for the fungi to live. So in which both the partners, or we can say that two different organisms, they are living in a close physical association and they both are getting benefit. And the second example, that is the lichen. In the lichen, fungi will leave the symbiotic association with the algae. In that, fungi will take the nutrient from the soil and it will give the nutrient to the algae. And the algae, they have the chlorophyll, they prepare their own food with the help of photosynthesis. And when they prepare their food, they also give some foods to the fungi. Like this way, these two different organisms, they live in a close interaction and they both the partners are getting benefit. So it is in symbiotic association. So some fungi, they live in a symbiotic association. Some fungi, they live on the dead or decay bodies, they are known as saprophytes. Some fungi, they take the nutrient from the dead and decay materials. From the dead and decay material, they obtain the nutrient for their growth. So that type of fungi, that is known as saprophytic fungi. And parasitic fungi. Parasitic fungi, they live on the host cells, in or out of the host cells, both in and out of the host cells. So they obtain the nutrient, or we can say that they take the food from the host cells. They are known as parasitic fungi. So we have seen the three types of fungi: symbiotic fungi, saprophytic fungi, and the parasitic fungi. Now we will see the general characteristic of fungi. Fungi can be microscopic or macroscopic. Fungi is either unicellular or multicellular. Here the unicellular example is yeast. Yeast is a unicellular, which is a non-filamentous fungi. They don't have filament. They normally found in the circular form like this. Whereas multicellular example is the mold. Multicellular mold, which is filamentous fungi. Okay. And yeast and the mold, both yeast and the mold, they both are microscopic. To observe them, we required microscope to observe them. Yeast and the mold are microscopic. Macroscopic example are the mushroom. Mushroom are the macroscopic fungi. Cell wall of fungi, that is either made up of chitin or cellulose or both. They don't have chlorophyll. It is heterotrophic organism. It is an heterotrophic organism. So obtain the food from outside. Okay, they don't have chlorophyll. They obtain the nutrient from the other. They depend on the other for their nutrient. So they are the heterotrophic organism. Mold consists of long branched thread-like filament of cell that is called hyphae. Okay, suppose this is the structure of fungi. In this, there is a long branched, or we can say that filamentous like structure or a thread-like structure. This is known as hyphae. A network of hyphae that form a structure that is known as mycelium. Suppose this is a network of, or we can say that a group of hyphae that will form a structure that is known as mycelium. These two concepts are clear. A filament, a single filament like structure, that is known as hyphae. A group of hyphae or a network of hyphae that will form a structure that is known as mycelium. This is hyphae and this is known as mycelium. It is same. If it is a singly found, suppose this is here from it is broken, then it is considered as a hyphae. This much part is considered as an hyphae. If it is found in a group or it is a network like structure, if it is formed, then it is known as mycelium. In most mold, the hyphae contain cross wall called septa. cross-walled, which means that suppose this is the hyphae, okay, and in between there is a partition is there, or we can say that cross-walled is there, so it is known as a septa. This is known as a septa. In between there is a partition or a cross-wall, that is known as a septa. And these hyphae are called septate hyphae. This type of hyphae, that is known as septate hyphae. Like this way, suppose this is the mycelia, and in between there is a septa is present, okay, then it is known as a septate mycelium. If it is a single it is found, it is known as a septate hyphae. If it is found in a network like structure, if it is found in a mycelium like structure, then it is known as a septate mycelium. The hyphae in which septa is absent, if there is a septa is absent, that it is known as aseptate, or we can say that non-septate or cynocytic. Suppose this is the hyphae and there is no septa is present, then it is known as aseptate hyphae. Like this way, a mycelia is there and there is no septa is present, then it is known as aseptate mycelium. A portion of hyphae that obtain the nutrient is called vegetative hyphae, and a portion of hyphae that is used in reproduction is called the reproductive hyphae. That we will see from the hyphae how they sexual and asexual reproduction take place. So a portion of hyphae in which only reproduction take place, that is known as a reproductive hyphae. Now we will see the nutrition. Mode of nutrition of fungi. As we know that fungi, they don't have chlorophyll and they cannot prepare their food with the help of photosynthesis process. So they are mostly heterotrophic, which means that they depend on the other for their nutrient. The few species are saprophytes. Saprophytes, which means that they take the nutrient from the dead and decay material. Some are parasites. They obtain the nutrient as a parasite when they live in or outside the host. From the host, they obtain the nutrient. So it is known as some fungi are the parasitic fungi, and from that way they obtain the nutrient. And like this way, some fungi are the symbiotic fungi. With the help of the partner, they obtain the nutrient. So in the mode of nutrition, what we have to remember, they are the heterotrophic. Few species are saprophytic, some are parasitic, and some are symbiotic. Like this way, they obtain the nutrient. Saprophytic, from the dead and decay material they obtain the nutrient. Parasitic, which means that from the host cells they obtain the nutrient. Symbiotic, it is left symbiotic. From the partners or from the mutual beneficial interaction between the organisms they have, from that they obtain the nutrient. Like this way, the mode of nutrition, in that we have to remember those things. If we talk about the reproduction, fungi reproduce by both sexually and asexually, both. And the asexual method of reproduction, that is by fusion, fragmentation, budding, and by the spore formation. These all are the method of asexual reproduction. Fungi reproduce by both sexually and asexually. If we talk about the beneficial effect, what are the advantages of fungi? They are the heterotrophic. They can decompose various organic matter. Whatever the organic matter that are present in the earth's surfaces, it will help to decompose, to degrade those organic matter. Because as we know that the bacteria and some fungi and some others organism has a capability, they can degrade those organic complex material into a simple material. So it is a very important thing that can decompose various organic matter. Fungi that are used in the industry for the production of antibiotics, they use for the production of antibiotic. Fungi can be used for the various bakery items. Fungi is used for various enzyme production. Fungi is used, and for the various organic acid production fungi is used. For example, for the citric acid production, mostly the fungi is used, that is Aspergillus niger. And mostly for the bakery products, we mostly use the fungi such as unicellular fungi. For example, yeast is mostly used. And for the antibiotic, the most widely that we know, that is the penicillium fungi, that can produce penicillin antibiotic. Fungi is also used as a biofertilizer. They can also used as a biofertilizer. They are responsible to solubilize phosphate into soil and make them available to the, or we can say that make it available for the plant. Mostly the soil, in the soil, the phosphate that are found in the soil, sometimes they bounce with the other minerals. So plants cannot take those type of phosphate. Suppose in the soil there are so many minerals are present, phosphate is present, we can say that other minerals are present, for example magnesium is present, many other minerals are present. So if the phosphate will combine with aluminium or with any other minerals, so plant cannot take those type of phosphate. So what will do, fungi will do, that will break down those type of bound form of phosphate and make it available to the plant. So plant can easily take up those type of phosphate. So fungi is also used to solubilize phosphate. Solubilize phosphate, which means that in the phosphate that is found in the bound form, if it is in the soil, it will bound with the another element, or we can say that other minerals. So it will bound with the other minerals. So plant cannot utilize those type of phosphate. So what the fungi will do, it will solubilize those type of phosphate. It will break those phosphate, and when it is break down, so it will get differentiated and plant will easily take up those type of phosphate. If we talk about the harmful effect of fungi, many fungi are the plant pathogen. They can cause disease in the plant as well as in the animal. Many fungi that can cause disease in the plant as well as in animal also. In the plant, some of the disease are the rust like disease, it can cause smut, mildew, wilt. These are the plant disease that is mainly caused by the fungi. Many fungi can damage to the textile, oil pans, leathers. They can damage those type of those things. They can also spoil the food, such as it can spoil the vegetables, it can spoil the pickles, egg. So it can also spoil the food also. Now we will discuss about the classification of fungi. The fungi, kingdom fungi, is divided into two divisions, that is Mixomycota and the second division, that is Eumycota. Mixomycota, that consist of a fungi like slime mold that having the lack of cell wall in their vegetative state, that is Mixomycota. Whereas Eumycota, that consists of true fungi, that is consist of true fungi which are filamentous eukaryotic heterotrophic organism that consist of rigid cell wall. Now the Mixomycota is further divided into 4 classes, whereas Eumycota is further divided into 5 classes that we will see. First, Mixomycota. It includes 4 classes such as Ascomycitis, Hydromycetes, Mixomycites, Plasmodiforomycites. So Mixomycota, the kingdom fungi, is divided into 2 divisions, that is Mixomycota and Eumycota. And Mixomycota is further divided into 4 classes such as this all. Whereas Eumycota is further, it includes 5 classes such as Mastigomycetes, Zygomycetes, Ascomycitis, Basidiomycitis, and the last one, that is Deuterium Imperfectile. We will study each and every class. First, we will discuss about the Mixomycota. What is Mixomycota? It is a consist of a fungi-like slime mold that having the lack of cell wall in their vegetative state. Okay, it is a consist of slime mold. It differs from the true fungi. How it differs from the true fungi? By lack of cell wall and phagocytic mode of nutrition. It includes 4 classes such as Ascomycitis. Ascomycitis, it is commonly known as a amoeboid slime mold. It is a commonly known as amoeboid slime mold. Whereas Hydromycetes, it is a thallus. The thallus from the net plasmodia. Which means that whatever the slime mold is there, the aggregation of slime mold, there will be the aggregation of slime mold, in a favorable condition is known as a plasmodium. So in a favorable condition, it will aggregate, it will come to the closer and it will form the thallus-like structures. Come to the closer and it will form the thallus-like structures and form a net-like structure that is known as a plasmodia. So in Hydromycetes, it will form a plasmodia. In the third class, that is a Mixomycites, it is a commonly known as a true slime mold. It is now in the third class, it is known as a true slime mold, or we can also say is that plasmodia slime mold. And where they are found onto the old wood and other decomposing plant parts. Okay, they are found in those places where there is the old wood are present and other decomposing plant part. Now the fourth one, that is a Plasmodiforomycites. Plasmodiforomycites, they are commonly known as a endoparasitic slime mold. They are known as a endoparasitic slime mold, or we can also say is that obligate parasite. They will grow on the algae, aquatic fungi and hyphae plant. Now the second division, that is the Eumycota. In the Eumycota, there are the 5 classes. That is first one, that is the Mastigomycetes, and the second one, that is the Zygomycotina, Ascomycotina or Ascomycitis, we can also say is that Basidiomycitis, Deuterium. Eumycota is a true fungi with mycelium structures. They are the true fungi which is consist of mycelium structure, and they consist of the rigid cell wall. That cell wall is made up of chitin. And their mode of nutrition is also saprophytic, parasitic we can say, or symbiotic mode of nutrition of division Eumycota. It includes 5 classes. The first class is, that is a Mastigomycetes. Mastigomycetes, the fungi which are reproduced by the zoospores. They reproduce by the zoospores, and on the basis of the zoospores, they are further classified into 3 classes are as follows. That is the Chytridomycetes. In the Chytridomycetes, they have the whiplash type flagella. Whiplash type flagella, suppose it is like somewhat like this. Whiplash type flagella, which means that it is a free of hair like projection or a scales. These are absent. It is a present because there is the absence of hair like projection. Or we can say that uniflagellate, only the single flagella is present in the class Chytridomycetes. Okay, in the Mastigomycetes, they reproduce by the zoospores, and based on arrangement of the flagella, on the base of the arrangement of the flagella on the zoospores, 3 classes are as follows. First, that is the Chytridomycetes. In that, they have the whiplash type of flagella and they have the uniflagellate. Only the single flagella is present. In the whiplash flagella, which means that they don't have any kinds of hair-like projection or scales are not present in them. Now, the second one, that is the class, that is the Hypochytridomycetes. Hypochytridomycetes and Oomycetes. In Hypochytridomycetes, they have the tinsel type of flagella. tinsel type of flagella means, which means that suppose it is they having the tinsel type of flagella like this. Okay, they have the numerous hair like projection is there, numerous hairs are coming from their flagella, so it is known as a tinsel type flagella. And hypocytidomycetes also, they are the uniflagellate, they are also only the single flagella is present, they are the uniflagellate. Okay, and the third class, that is the Oomycetes. They have the biflagellate, they have the two flagella, whiplash and tinsel like flagella. Whiplash means, suppose this is whiplash and tinsel like flagella. So they have the two flagella, which means that biflagellate, and they have the whiplash and the tinsel like flagella. This is the whiplash and this is the tinsel. Okay, in Chytidomycetes they have only whiplash type flagella. In Hypocytidomycetes they have the tinsel like flagella, and they both are uniflagellate because they have only one flagella, uniflagellate flagella, only one is present. Whereas in Oomycetes they are biflagellate, they have the two flagella such as whiplash and the tinsel. Now we will move to the second class. Okay, the second class, that is Zygomycetes. The fungi produce thick walled spore that is called as zygospores, and the zygospores are the non-motile due to the lack of flagella. They don't have motility for their movement. Okay, they are non-motile due to the lack of flagella. Here the example of Zygomycetes fungi are the Rhizopus mucor. These all are the example of the Zygomycetes. They produce the thick walled spore that is called as zygospores, and they have the lack of flagella, so they are non-motile. Now the third class, that is the Ascomycites. In the class Ascomycites, the fungi that produce the ascospores. In here, that is a fungi that will produce the ascospores, and the ascospores are produced in a sac-like structure called the ascus. Wherever they produce the ascospores, they will produce the sac-like structure that is known as ascus. Suppose like this, they will produce a sac-like structure that is known as ascus, and in between there is the ascus is present. This is known as ascocarp, and this is known as ascus, and in that ascospore is produced, and when they will disturb, during this mitosis process, and they will produce these spores out, and their hyphae is septate and branched. Their hyphae is in the fungi class, that is Ascomycetes, their fungi hyphae is septate like this, and they are branched. Septate means septa is present. Okay, in the ascospores the hyphae is septate and the branch, and the fungi may be parasitic or saprophytic. They obtain the nutrition by the mode of parasitic or saprophytic. Asexual reproduction occur by the conidiospore formation. Okay, asexual reproduction and the sexual reproduction both can take place in the Ascomycetes class of fungi. Asexual reproductions that occur by the conidiospores. Suppose this is a septate mycelia. So in that they will produce this type of structure that is known as conidia, and this is known as conidiophore, and this is known as conidia. This is known as conidia, and this is known as conidiophore. This is a asexual spores, or exogenously. The spores are present exogenously. Okay. Here, the example of the conidiospores are the Aspergillus, Penicillium, Neurospora, Fusarium, Alternaria. These all are the example of the class Ascomycites. Okay. Only the things that we have to remember in the class Ascomycites. Okay. Two things. First, they can reproduce by the asexual mode of reproduction by the conidiospore, and the sexual mode of reproduction by the form of ascospore. And they have the other things that is as simple as they have the septate and branch like hyphae or the branch like mycelium. We can say their mode of nutrition is parasitic or the saprophytic. And the other things that we have to remember, the example of the fungi that comes under the class that is Ascomycites. Now, the fourth class, that is the Basidiomycites. In the fourth class, that is the Basidiomycites, it is also known as the bracket fungi or puff balls, or we can say that in the class that is the mushroom will come. They will produce the basidiospores. Basidiospores they will produce. They produce the sexual structure called the basidium. That sexual structure, that is basidium. In the basidium, only the sexual mode of reproduction, and mostly the in the Basidiomycites they go for the sexual mode of reproduction. Spore is produced at the end of the basidium. Suppose this is the basidium. So here the spores are produced at the end of the basidium. They possess septate hyphae. They possess the septate branched hyphae or the mycelium we can say. And the examples are Cryptococcus, Neoformans, Puccinia graminis. These are the example of the class Basidiomycites. And we can also add other examples such as mushroom, agaricus, astilago. And these class of fungi can also cause the different disease in the plant also, like rust and the smut like disease. And the fifth class, that is the last, that is the Deuteriomycites. The Deuteriomycites, the fungi is called the Fungi Imperfectile. Why we call this group of, or we can say the class of fungi that is called the imperfectile? Because here only the sexual reproduction is absent, only the asexual reproduction is seen. Sexual reproduction is absent in this class of fungi, only the asexual mode of reproduction is only seen. And they possess the, as usual, the septate branched hyphae, which means that like this, and septa is present. So this is what all about the classification of fungi. In that what we have seen, the kingdom fungi is divided into the two division, that is the Mixomycota and Eumycota. Mixomycota is further divided into the 4 classes that we have seen, whereas Eumycota is further divided into the 5 classes. In that Mastigomycotina, or we can say that Mastigomycetes, in that we have seen the 3 division on the basis of their flagella subclasses. Okay, then after we have seen the Zygomycetes, then we have seen the Ascomycites, then we have seen the Basidiomycites. In the Basidiomycites, the sexual mode of reproduction, in that they will form the basidium, and after the basidium they will produce the basidiospores. Suppose this is the basidium. Suppose this is the basidium, and at the tip of the basidium they will produce the basidiospores. At the tip of that they will produce the basidiospores. Okay, then we have seen the last class, that is the Deuteriomycites. In the Deuteriomycites we can only see the asexual mode of reproduction. No sexual reproduction is found in this class, and this fungi, group of fungi, is also says that Fungi Imperfecti.